So I'm going to do a couple of slides on FRAM really quick before we get into calendars and SAAR and that kind of thing. So for FRAM, we're not changing anything this year. If you did FRAM entry last year, it's the same. So you've got the funding choice for 2018, 2019, or 2019, 2020 data. And sorry, if you we still are encouraging you to enter the HIFs like you have been and entering your DC certification files monthly. We still want you to do that as normal. If your district is a full CEP, that is going to allow you to process the HIFs in IC. And in order to do that, you need to contact Infinite Campus to get that set up for you. Just a couple of things about the online registration. Excuse me. For non-CEP districts, there are some options available, even if they're not quite the same as putting stuff directly into Infinite Campus. This way, you have three options. One is to create your own online form, and that way you can get a signature from the parents. The other one, there's another where you can create a custom form in Infinite Campus, and that allows you to send it to the parents through the parent portal, and they can sign it electronically there. Or you can create an online registration page where the parents can upload themselves. So it's not quite as involved as the other, as a full CEP, but there are still some options available to you. And processing HIF forms, again, nothing has changed if you've done this before. So they're still processed, in IC using the FRAM module. So if you go on the left side of Infinite Campus in the index under FRAM, household applications, and you can start the process there. And forms, all these forms must be they can be retained for 10 years. They must be retained for 10 years. I'm sorry. And if you do the online registration, you do need to print out the forms and keep them for 10 years. So you still have to have a physical copy. Some additional, one additional resource, the CEP page for the Kentucky Department of Education, that has a lot of guidance, and it has all kinds of resources. And if you have any questions about it, you can contact me. I am back doing this year. I took a couple of years off from doing FRAM, so I'm the lucky one again to get FRAM. So if you have any questions, I will be glad to help or find the answer for you. That's all I have for FRAM. I think Laura's up next.
Hello, I'm Laura Lohman. I am the new SAAR contact for the Division of District Support, and I'll be just giving a few SAAR updates. So you will not need to submit SAAR for the 21-22 school year, and you're going to just once again use the previous SAAR ADA to generate your funding paid for 22-23. That's going to be either 18-19 data or 19-20, depending on which you chose in 19-20. And then we will once again start collecting SAAR growth factor and January growth factor reporting for the 22-23 school year. So this is just going to give a baseline to start funding back for 23-24. And then the link there at the bottom, when you get this PowerPoint, you'll be able to click on that. It's going to actually take you to the SAAR application, and the SAAR application guide are both linked on that website. So you can actually go into the new SAAR application and review everything and kind of look around. You won't be able to actually submit anything there, but our office will also be doing like a SAAR kind of application user guide kind of overview sometime in September. So we'll be sending out some information about that when we get that date secured to kind of show you how to submit things within the new application. So, and then these are just some reports that you'll want to run for data cleanup. The SAAR guidance book's going to give you details on each of these reports and where to find it. And how to clean up your data. And then just remember that everything in Infinite Campus should actually mirror, what's actually happening within the school. So this is the first report, and the path there is the student information reports, state enrollment overlap. This is going to be like one of your first reports that you'll look at, and one-day overlaps are going to be allowed and should remain within Infinite Campus, with the exception of a one-day overlap within the same district. So, and then you'll just want to be careful whenever you do end date and enrollment record that the attendance and grades are going to be tied to that enrollment. So just make sure that you're cautious of that when end dating. This is the path to identify students who have an enrollment with an end date but no end status. So you'll just follow that Kentucky State Reporting, Edit Reports, Missing Enrollment and Status Report. And then this will actually throw an error if the enrollment is not correct. So that's how to locate that. Student schedule gaps. This is going to be your path to locate student schedule gaps. Kentucky State Reporting, KDE reports, schedule gap reports. And you will want to perform this for any withdrawn students, as well as if you have like virtual and performance-based courses, you'll want to set up a placeholder for those, or it'll actually show a gap within your schedule. This is going to be your path for overlapping T codes. So ad hoc reporting, filter designer, state published. And this is just going to show you the student records with any overlapping transportation codes that need to actually be corrected. So, and your T codes can't overlap. And then just keep in mind that everyone needs to have like a T code associated with their student record. If the system marks it as non-transport, then you won't get any funding for that student. Missing end-dated students. This is the path for locating students with an end-dated T code. So you're going to just go to that ad hoc filter designer, state published, student audit, end-dated T code records. And this just shows you a screenshot of that. If you have a student who was enrolled and listed with a T code, but then was a no-show or left and came back for part of the year, this ad hoc is actually going to just help you locate those students and ensure that you're getting a full year of transportation for them. And then this is the audit for missing T codes. So the path there is ad hoc reporting, filter designer, state published. And you'll just run this for to locate your missing T codes, and all students should have a T code associated with their student enrollment record. This is going to be your path for identifying students with partial day attendance groups. So the path is ad hoc reporting, filter designer, state published, student audit, partial day. And you'll just want to make sure that they have those students marked in in the partial day attendance group. So if they have an IEP in their partial day, they must check they must have that waiver box checked to get full funding. So that's not really important this year, but you'll want to get in the habit of doing that for the upcoming year. And then this is the path to identify students in home hospital. So you're going to go to the ad hoc reporting filter designer state published, and then it's going to identify students in the home hospital attendance group, and home hospital has to have the correct start and end date. So the start date's going to be the date that the doctors or physician signed it, and then the end date would be when they're actually released. So that's a good report to run to. Then I'm going to turn it over to Josh for some calendar and Infinite Campus updates.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Josh Whitlow with the Office of Finance Operation and Division of District Support. So just a couple of calendar reminders. Original and minute calendars, they can be submitted to KDE, and they have to be submitted to us before June 30th. We have provided the link there for you and through the KDE web application. If you need help accessing the Kentucky Schools calendar part of the web application, we ask that you reach out to your WAPOC, and we have that listed as well for you to see who WAPOC is. Your 22-23 original calendars can be submitted to us now. That opened on April 15th, and we ask you that you go ahead and get those submitted to us here at KDE as soon as you can, so we can go ahead and start processing those and get those back to you all for approval. Your 21-22 amended calendars can be submitted to us after May 15th, and also after the last day of your school term. Just a reminder, site-based. Senate Bill 1 gave districts the ability to waive the 170 days and only require to meet the 1,062 instructional hours. If you need more information on school calendars, we have on there how to amend your calendar, how to start your new school year, and then some other information as well on there. Some calendar updates. Traditional calendars must have a minimum of 170 instructional days and 1,062 instructional hours. The variable instructional calendars must have a minimum of 1,062 hours, but they do not have to meet the 170-day requirement. The official start date for your variable instructional calendars should be on or after August 29th. Original calendars should include makeup days equal to the maximum number of weather days in your 16-17 school year through the 2021. I've created a report out there on our calendar webpage, and that's a link straight to it. And it will give you on the end of the chart, it will say how many days you must have in your original calendar. KDE staff checks this information manually. So every time you send a calendar into us, that's one of the first things we look at to make sure you have enough makeup days. And then for your amended calendar, we ask that all those makeup days are taken off of the calendar. Some common errors that we see already that are as calendars are coming in, gaps in school months. So make sure that you are checking your reports on that and make sure there's no gaps in between your school months. Just a reminder, there must be 20 days in each school month besides month 10, and it can have less days. Also a reminder, day events, they can only be one day event on each day. So if you have more than one day event, it will throw an error and it will not let you submit your calendar to us. And just best practice to make sure that you're running your edit reports before submitting your calendar to us here at the Department of Ed. That path is Kentucky State Reporting, edit reports, and then calendar edit reports. House Bill 397, this is for your Western Kentucky tornado disaster relief. That was a bill that was passed in this past General Assembly. This will waive up to 15 student attendance days, and we have listed those districts there that are that were affected by that. We ask that it is a school day. Your instructional attendance is unchecked. The day event is going to be a disaster day. And then we do ask you in the comments that you do type in HB 397 tornado disaster relief. And that will help us if we have to pull any reports for LRC, that we can pull those and we can just type that in. It will automatically show that for us. Cleanup reminders, QCE and QCP attendance groups. Attendance groups should have a start date and end date. So we ask that you make sure as you're doing your end of year cleanup that you're checking those reports to make sure that they have a start date and most definitely an end date on those. We do have a report out there under Kentucky State Reporting, KDE reports, Student COVID-19 Attendance Group Detail Report, and that will list all your QCE and QCE, any student that has one of those, and it will say a start date and end date. If they're missing an end date, we ask that you go in there and correct that. I do have some good news for the 22-23 school year. The QCE and QCP attendance groups, we will not be tracking those this year inside of the attendance area. We are putting guidance together to provide for tracking communicable diseases outside of the attendance area. So that information will be coming later, and we'll have that for the beginning of year training. Summer school calendars. We ask that districts who are offering summer school that this be tracked in Infinite Campus, just like we did last year. Best practice is that it is a separate calendar and should be marked for, the type should be marked as summer school, and the checkbox for as well for summer school. And then we do ask you that you put in the beginning of your calendar name SUM and then 21, 22, whatever the school name is. And we are up for questions.
Okay, Josh, I think Jesse's going to take over, and she's been answering questions and go soapbox already, but continue to add those if you want to. She's going to go over the questions that have come in.
All right. And don't go anywhere, OFO folks, because there's some of these I may need some help on. So, all right. First couple of questions. We have a couple questions about the HIF applications completed online. First of all, one question was asked that they had reached out and said, they reached out about setting up the process through IC and asked if IC was supposed to set that up for them. IC won't set that up for you. They will send you instructions. That has to be set up in your district. So if you want to reach back out to them, I'm sure they'll be happy to maybe set up a time with you to walk through if you have questions, but that's not a setup that Infinite Campus will do for you. It still has to be set up in your district. So if you want, somebody else had questions about how to get that information, I think Samantha will be able to provide you exactly some outlines of what you asked for when you reach out to Infinite Campus. So if you'll send her an email, that probably might be the best way for that. It says, I heard mentioned that the HIP applications completed online had to be printed, and they had been told previously by Tim Cooper that that wasn't necessary. I think that's correct. You just have to keep them for 10 years. I know a lot of districts that HIF form has to be kept for 10 years. So some districts find it easier just to print them out and store them somewhere. But if you have storage that will, keep them there and you have that's somewhere that's secure, you can keep those electronically. Okay. May need help with this one, Josh. It says, because I think the answer is yes, but I want some confirmation. It says, are students that are enrolled in an A6 school required to have a doctor complete the home hospital paperwork?
Yes.
Yes, I believe anyone with that home hospital paperwork has to have a doctor's signature on that. That is, unless they are a special ed student who has been assigned to home hospital through their ARC.
Yep. Okay. Correct.
Okay. Josh, do we mark exclude on those summer school calendars?
That is something that we have talked to the folks down in KSIS. I know Lisa Keeter's on the call. Last year we did say that, but then we said do not mark them, say exclude, just so that we can pull the data.
Over to SAAR, it says SAAR will give a baseline funding to start back for 23-24. Will funding not be attached to this data for 22-23? So you have to remember when you're talking about funding, we're a year off, right? So what you will be paid for during 22-23 will be the previous year's data, which has been frozen from either 18-19 or 19-20. What Laura was talking about is next year, during the 22-23 school year, we will go back to tracking attendance and everything like we have before. The SAAR in 22-23 will be processed, and then you will be paid for that in fiscal year 23-24. So it's kind of a little bit of both in each years, but you have to remember the funding goes to the next year. Okay, summer school question, Josh. We are setting up summer school calendars for the first time this year. When I roll students over, it says primary enrollment overlap dates under enrollment. Is that okay?
I think so, but have them reach out to me so I can look at their database. I'm pretty sure what they're asking is they're getting an overlap because they've already started the 22-23 school year enrollment, and then they still have the 21-22 school year going for summer school. So I think they'll be fine, but I will look into their database to make sure.
Okay. Let's see. Does the summer school calendar need to be submitted with our calendars for approval?
Nope. We don't pull anything, any data for the summer school into the calendar app. We don't pull any data for summer schools.
Okay. Do we enter a calendar for elementary summer school, or is that just for high school and middle school?
If you are having a summer school in your elementary, we do ask that that is an Infinite Campus so we can track how long you're going and how many students are in the summer school program.
Okay. Lots of calendar questions here, Josh. If you're using the variable calendar option, do you have to have 185 days in your calendar?
That is correct. You must and shall have 185 days because that is at reg. And to make your 185, you'll use G planning either at the beginning or at the end of the calendar.
And if they have questions before they submit, they can send that to you and you can take a look at that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Should our NTI days show up on the calendar edit report under day event attendance? That may be one we need to go look at because they're specifically looking at that report. I don't know if I remember what actually shows up under that report on the spot right now. Oh, there's Jen.
Jesse,
Jen knows.
this is Jen. So on the day event, it's going to show you your opening and your closing, your makeup days. It does not show you your NTI days.
I was thinking of the calendar print off. I was like, it does on that one, but not on the calendar.
It does on your calendar summary print report,
yes,
but not on the calendar edit report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, last one here. Is it mandatory to have a summer school calendar?
It is not mandatory, but we do pull information to send to LRC. So if it's not an Infinite Campus and you did have a summer school, they may reach out to you and ask for that data.
Okay. All right, we have another question asking about the retention report says that the HIF report should be retained for 3 years, but I'm saying 10. That's due to the E-rate data. We have some things kind of overlapping here. You know, I think you're right that the retention report says you only have to keep it 3 years, but that E-rate data that you submit in, there's a clause in that if they come back and want to review it, those are supposed to be kept for 10 years. So that's why when I talk about HIF reports, I normally say 10 years because that's the longest one, and that's normally, you know, kind of to be safe and catch everything. I say 10 years. Right, Sam? We got anything to add to that? No, that's
Nope,
right.
that's right.
Okay. Make sure I got that one right. Okay. Do we have time for one more question, Dee Dee? I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
All right. That's okay. Is there an instruction online on how to set up a summer school calendar? Is there one how to enroll students in a summer school calendar or any information that needs to be moved into the summer school calendar?
Yes, we do have a document out on our school calendar webpage. We will put that in the answer into this, and I'll give you the direct link for that. But there is it's like the third one down. It says summer school calendar setup.
Okay. All right, Dee Dee, things started moving on me just then. And so I think I've got everything.
I think I saw something come in about preschool and state exclude, and it said, can we discuss that? I don't know if somebody deleted it or if it got pushed up towards
no, it got pushed up. There it is.
Okay.
Can we discuss pre-K and state exclude?
Yeah.
Josh, you want to give that a go, or you want me to try?
I will.
Okay.
We long time ago, years way past, we did ask that preschool students were state exclude, but when you do rollover now, none of those are coming into the system. When you roll forward your students, they're still marked state exclude. So any preschool student shall not be marked state exclude.
Because anything we're trying to pull for preschool students as well, if they are in a state exclude calendar or if they're marked state exclude, they're not going to come in and be caught on any of those reports.
Correct.
So I think we transitioned that, 4 or 5 years back. Maybe I've lost track of time with COVID. It's been a little while. We transitioned away from that a while ago. So, and if you have any more specific questions about pre-K, reach out to us and we can get you in touch with the pre-K group up in OCL, because there are we know there's some very specific rules when you bring somebody in to test them, but they may not qualify for enrollment and whatnot. So there are some tricky parts to that. So if you have a specific case, please reach out to us.
And I will say that is on the enrollment data standard as well.
Okay, good.
So another question came in: are summer enrichment programs considered summer school? They may include kids outside the school population.
Nope, you don't have to track those.
If you have those are things such as I think what they're talking about are some of those camps that may be hosted at your schools and whatnot, and those don't have to be inside campus.
And if you submitted a question that we didn't answer and you want to submit it real quickly again, we've got a few minutes. They get popped up to the top. Jesse had answered quite a few of them. So if you think we don't mean to miss one, if we've missed one, there's a lot of questions out there now. So we have just a few minutes. We've had a lot of good information. I want to thank you all for providing that. I'm not seeing anything coming in right now.
If we have a minute or two, I will give a plug for our new SAAR system that everybody will be using next year. We've made some updates to it. The way you had submitted growth factor and SAAR in the past will look a little different this year. I know we haven't done it for several years. So there will be some trainings that will be coming up over the summer and at the beginning of next year with Laura. Laura's our new SAAR growth factor guru. So she'll have some stuff to walk everybody through. We think everybody's really going to like it. It's easier, and it has some features in it I think you all will like. You'll be able to pull the data after you submit it and it gets approved. So you won't, every now and then somebody would have to email in and say, hey Rhonda, can I have a copy of this? Or hey Laura, can I have a copy of my old SAAR data? It'll all be in there in the system, so you'll be able to access it. Laura, have anything to add about the new SAAR system?
I don't think so. It's really user friendly. I think it's going to be easy for everybody to figure out how to submit, and I think they're going to really like it. You can actually go in and, add point of contacts and who needs to receive emails and updates, and it's nice.
So 2 additional questions have come in. I think one of you may have already answered, but we'll cover it again. Can you still use IC for enrichment programs if you want to?
I don't think there's anything that would keep you from it if you want to put them in there. I don't know. I would have to defer to down the hall KSIS group if you'd want those marked state exclude or if we want them coming in. I don't know, because you're going to have students outside of the general population possibly of the school.
I think, in that perspective, we do very little reporting on summer school. LRC has, had a lot of interest in it just during COVID for, to recover from learning loss and things like that. But if it's just for enrichment, it's probably worth excluding that calendar so that those aren't going to come up, and especially including students that would normally be in your population.
That'll make sure they stay out.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
So is there any instruction or tips online about balancing the register and the admin ADA?
I will say, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, I don't know that we have any instructions or tips, but I will point you to your field staff. I think they are really good at walking through and helping you understand those two reports and how they're connected, because they will be the one doing your audit. So reach out to, that's either Sheila, Ruth, or Sasha now in Eastern Kentucky. I will also give a plug that because we have been away from attendance for so long, Josh is going to do some attendance trainings and kind of like a, webcasts and going out into the state to kick up some traction on remembering how to do attendance as we start back next year. So I think this will be one of the big points. So look for those. I'm sure those reminders will come to your DPP, but they'll also go out to the KSIS groups. And so if you're on that email, you'll know about those times. And that's some of the stuff that Josh is going to go over from the district perspective of how to do that. Register ADM, ADA balance, plus, everything else you need to know in attendance world as we get going again.
Yep.
One more question. I think this is for Josh. And do we have to do a summer school calendar?
It is not required, but again, if you are providing summer school instruction to your students, we do, just like Dee Dee said, LRC does request that information, so we send that straight to them because it's in the database. So if you do not put that in there, we will have LRC to contact you if they're needing that information from you all.